Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. As I had mentioned in the previous video, we're going to take the Midnight Panic Mega Truck into a little local car show here this weekend. So I'm headed to the shop right now, taking the dog for a run, and I'm going to go down and get started on cleaning up this truck. It's got several months worth of dirt stacked up on top of it, and you know, a little bit of grime and whatnot from installing a new engine and all of the coolant from when it blew the head gasket. So there's plenty of cleanup to do, both inside and out. So that's where I'm headed right now. Gonna go get that thing cleaned up, and I'm gonna have to start shuffling some stuff around too. I've got my buggy loaded up in the trailer, which I'm gonna need the trailer cleaned out so that I can get the truck into town. So I've got quite a bit of work to do over the next, probably most of today and part of tomorrow to get ready for this little show. So I'll try and bring you along, just practice on getting my content here. Did you get your exercise in? Ready to load up? Get up there. Well, I got a lot of the big stuff knocked off the front half of the body here, the roof and the hood. Allison jumped up in here and cleaned up a lot of the inside, looking pretty nice. This is no showpiece by any means, but it still looks pretty good, still pretty fresh. Now we have to crawl around and clean up all those bars inside the belly, that area back there yet, but I think I'm gonna wait until we have reinforcements. Got a couple of friends from coming out of town, as I'd mentioned in the last video. They're gonna come give me a hand. When you're crawling around underneath there, wiping those bars down, it's a little more enjoyable when you have a helping hand and someone to visit with. So I'm gonna save a little work for them. What I'm gonna do right now is go out and fire up the Peterbilt and get ready to pull the trailer out far enough that I can get the buggy unloaded. Hopefully the Peterbilt starts up. I haven't run this thing since October as well. Make sure it's got some oil in it. I do keep a battery maintainer on it, so it should at least crank over. Says full. This thing could use a good cleaning too. Got volts, we've got a little bit of fuel. Not too bad. It's a pretty good old truck. You can see here the bedsides for Midnight Panic are sitting out here. I'll probably just wash them up out here. You can see they're filthy as well. It's easier to clean that rear tubing off with these things out of the way.
Twelve seconds later. One eternity later.
Well, as you can see from the video, I decided to go ahead and run the truck on into town and splash a little fuel in it. The fuel gauge was pretty close to the E mark, and that truck has a capacity of about 200 gallon. So I find it a little bit less depressing if I put a little bit of fuel in it at a time rather than go from empty to full. So I put about 125 gallon or so in the truck before coming back out here to the shop and, getting hooked up to the trailer and getting it ready to unload the buggy. Now when we get ready to go for a longer trip later on this year, it won't be quite so financially devastating to get that thing topped off and ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is get the buggy unloaded out of the trailer along with the tires. That way I can park it over here on the other side, the storage side of the building, swap tires around on it, and I'll have the transport tires and the trailer so that I can get this thing loaded and ready to go to town. So let's go out to the trailer and take a look at what it takes to get that thing all unloaded. You're gonna have to move. I've left myself enough room out here in the driveway so that I can, maneuver the buggy once it's out of the trailer here. So we'll get in here and take a look at what kind of mess we got going on in here. So we'll have to lower the door down. We'll get the buggy untied and back it out of here. And then I got 4 big old tires in here that I need to get unloaded as well. Hopefully that thing fires up without any issue. It also has not run since October, but at least it's been in here, dry and out of the weather. I'll probably just go ahead and set the camera up out behind the trailer, put it on time lapse so I can actually, get something done. That's 2 for 2 getting rigs started that have been sitting for a while. pressure at?
About
10.
yep.
A little more.
More.
That's probably good enough.
Perfect.
We'll need that later.
Tomorrow.
Well, we're off to the show. Allison and I are piloting the Pete, and we're going to hit the road.
Yep.
Well, I forgot the primer bottle with the gas and the impact wrenches with the correct size socket to change tires.
Oh, that's because I didn't pack his stuff for him this time. So he failed. Just kidding.
So Ben and Angie went back to Golconda. At least it's a close trip this time. We'll just go see what the venue looks like while we wait for them to show up with some tools. Well, I figured I'd jump on here and go ahead and wrap this video up. Before I do that, I wanted to give a shout out to my wife for cleaning up the other truck, getting that thing to town, you know, giving me a hand with swapping tires around on this thing, and also, you know, getting some really good pictures and video while we were at the show. Also, I would like to thank Allison, my daughter, for her contribution behind the camera this video, and also climbing inside of this thing and cleaning up the inside of the truck. It's a lot easier for her to do it than it is for me, so I really appreciate that. Also, I would like to thank our friends Ben and Angie for coming down and giving me a hand with everything from, you know, cleaning up this truck, swapping tires. They also made an emergency trip back to Golconda to get some tools and a little bit of gas that I had forgot. That was very handy, and I'm very thankful for that. There was quite a bit of other things that I didn't really cover in this video. I just didn't video it or put the content in here, but I should mention it. As you can see behind me here, these headers are all nice and blued. They look really pretty, and that's because we took the time to remove the headers from the truck after we got the tires swapped over and just before we loaded it up. Actually, just before we put the bedsides on. We removed the headers, and after I got the first header removed, Ben started sanding all of the temporary paint off of the primary tubes. And while he was working on the first header, I removed the second one, cut the collector off right here at the transition, and TIG welded a V-band clamp onto the header. And by the time I got the header welded up, he was almost done with the primary tubes. I had just enough time to weld the other half of the V-band clamp onto this turnout here. So I got one header done, and then we just swapped. He went to sanding on the header that I welded on. I started welding on the header that he had all cleaned up. Now, once we got done with all of this work, getting the V-band clamps and everything welded up, there was still some pretty tough paint on the collectors. So both Ben and Angie tackled sanding on these headers and getting them all finalized and cleaned up really nice. And while they were doing that, I went ahead and put another V-band clamp and turnout on this little muffler here, on two of them actually. So in some events, some promoters, you are required to run a muffler on your monster truck. It's just, you know, kind of a noise thing, especially for indoor shows. So since we were doing all this work, I just went ahead and, you know, took care of this little project so that if there ever comes a time that I have to put mufflers on this truck to run an event, it's a couple of minutes to pull the V-band clamp and install a muffler. So that part's already done. It's not even a monster truck yet. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and close her off here. I know this is a little bit different video, and basically I am just practicing, trying to get more content, do a little bit more and better video work while at the events. And you know, it's just a different aspect. It's kind of a different deal to pay attention to doing video work when you're just trying to get the truck out there and make sure it's running and doing its thing. I also, as you've seen in the video, got to rip around with the thing a little bit. That was a lot of fun, and the truck seems to run really good. I'm really happy with the amount of power it's making, and I'm really pretty happy with the tune currently. I think I'm gonna go ahead and just leave the truck alone for now. I believe next days off, I will probably just move this thing to the other side of the shop and get started either working on axles or wheels. I have not decided which. Probably just depends on what materials and, you know, what parts I have on hand here in about 4 days. So until then, thanks for watching. Have a good one.
Heck yeah. That is like orchestra to your ears. Music to your ears. Look at that beauty.